Food. It's more than just a necessity. It's one of life's undeniable, universal pleasures. From fresh, organic fruits to the quick carb fix of fast food, the choices and portions can seem endless. But there's a bitter truth beneath all this abundance.
Food waste is food that doesn't get eaten and could be. Over 40% of all the food in this country never gets eaten. It's everything from fruit and vegetables that are being left on farms unharvested, all the way through to the milk that you pour out because it's past its date. And when you add that up, it comes out to about $165 billion across the US economy that's being spent on food that's never eaten.
Down the drain or tossed in the trash, food waste takes a heavy toll on the environment.
We're here in San Francisco at a solid waste transfer station and recycling center operated by Recology. They're helping San Francisco to meet their 2020 zero waste goals by recycling and composting food scraps. They're doing great, but across the country, we are sending over 30 million tons of food straight to landfills. And once it gets there, it decomposes and produces methane, a greenhouse gas that's actually 25 times more powerful than CO2.
Composting helps reduce the amount of food rotting in landfills. Even so, food uneaten is still food wasted.
Hothouse peppers that no one's even touched, perfectly good kale down there, and a whole watermelon.
In fact, more than half of all the fruits and vegetables grown in the U.S. are never eaten, often because they don't measure up.
Most people, when they walk into a store, expect to get whatever they please in that moment, and they want it to look perfect. So for instance, not every apple grows perfectly round and perfectly red on the tree, and yet that's what you see in the store.
But the demand for perfect produce isn't the only thing fueling food waste. Take, for example, the expiration dates found on packaged foods.
When you're in the grocery store, you'll see a use by or a best by date. It's just for the food quality. Eat it before this date, and you have the freshest product that the manufacturer can potentially give you.
Expiration dates can confuse consumers into thinking a food is no longer safe to eat. But for most food, that's simply not the case.
If you think about a product that you can leave out in the open, soda, canned foods, walnuts, those products at their use-by date or their sell-by date, they're going to be just fine for the most part. If you're 30 days out, if you're 60 days out, what starts to happen there is the food quality is affected, not the food safety. What starts to happen with granola bars is some of the oats might break down and you start to get some oxidative notes or some rancid notes.
And while you may not enjoy munching on an expired granola bar, you're not likely to get sick from it. So unopened, shelf-stable foods which don't require refrigeration can still be safe to eat months after their expiration dates. But for some foods, the sell-by or use-by dates can be helpful guides for food quality and food safety.
Here's a sample of a turkey that's well beyond its use-by date. We've got some visual cues that yeast and mold are growing on it, so we certainly wouldn't eat it. What's important to remember, especially with deli meat type products, is there aren't always visual cues that there could be pathogens in there that would make you sick.
Those pathogens are food-borne bacteria and viruses which sicken 1 in 6 Americans each year. Listeria, for example, can keep growing even on fresh, refrigerated foods.
You really can't smell food safety, you can't see food safety. To keep your food safe longer, fresher, shop for frozen and refrigerated foods last to maintain the safety of those food products.
At the Natural Resources Defense Council, we found that at times, up to 90% of consumers have thrown away product before they've needed to out of concerns for safety.
And food that goes to waste is food that could have relieved hunger.
I'm Marta Sandell. I'm 77 years of age. I live in Sunnyvale, California, and I'm a retiree. Now we have all these bags are going to be over here.
In 2009, artists began volunteering at her local church helping hand out bags of food each week to low-income seniors. This brown bag program was started by Second Harvest, one of the nation's largest food banks.
We actually provide food every single month to more than 250,000 people, and that is in Silicon Valley, heading up to San Francisco. The words that come to mind when you hear Silicon Valley are words like job creation, innovation, wealth, not hunger.
How are you this morning?
Fine, thank you.
Good, okay.
Artis not only volunteers, she also benefits from the brown bag program, receiving fresh fruits and vegetables each week.
I'll see you next week.
More than half of the food that we distribute is actually fresh fruits and vegetables. This past year, that was 28 million pounds of fresh produce.
California farmers donated most of this produce, which likely would have been thrown away because it might have been too small or slightly blemished. In 2012, nearly 60 local stores also donated food nearing its sell-by date.
Just in the past year, we were able to rescue close to 2 million pounds of food from grocery stores that otherwise probably would have been thrown away, but in our case, got to hungry people in need.
I grew up during the war when I was told, you eat your food or it will be brought back out and you will eat it the next day or the next meal. So you don't throw food away.
Sure, finishing every meal may be a tall order. Still, a bit of awareness may help take a bite out of the food we waste.
My hope is that reducing food waste becomes a part of our culture. There's enough food in this country to feed everyone, and we just need to be more mindful of what we're doing with it.